You got it. Hey,
And
just in
skating,
time.
and skating and right on time, it's Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck. How
Look
you
at
doing, sir?
that.
Mm-hmm.
Howdy.
Hey, I got to go back and watch the replay later to see if that perfectly coincides with you popping on, because I think so.
Wouldn't that be something?
But Mark, welcome, and welcome to everybody to this Wednesday evening discussion. If you're catching this live, and I'm glad you're joining us if you are, of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth in the modern Apes trilogy, but the first in, I guess, what Disney is hoping to be the Disney Fox trilogy. At least that's how they're setting it up. It's very confusing. Disney's buying and resetting everything from Star Wars to Marvel to Doctor Who to now apparently the Apes. So we're going to talk about it tonight. Is this the last Apes trilogy that ended a few years ago? A lot of people consider to be a darn near perfect series of 3 films. Did we need a fourth one? I certainly did not think so heading into this movie. And to be perfectly honest, I wanted to do this show because it's content. It's like, hey, it's the new movie, it's the new blockbuster. Let's see if it's any good. And I was very surprised by my own reaction to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But before we get into all that, who are we? We are Earth's Mightiest Critics here on the Kicking the Seat podcast. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast, and Every Movie Has a Lesson, and a million other things. We have Katie Glidewell, the bald in front, aka the blonde in front. Hello. And wait, I didn't get a proper introduction to your friend there. Does he or she have a name?
No, I don't think he or she does.
Oh, we're naming it tonight.
Then I know we got to figure out something.
We're gonna name her Nova because they're all Nova.
Yeah.
We can do better. What's the next crappy Chevy brand we can name it Ape? Come on now.
And we also have Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of the Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions. Welcome, sir. Yeah, as we like to do every week, I want to go around and just get some quick high-level thoughts on Kingdom. But wait a second. Hold on a second. Wait, I'm going to try something different. Instead of answering comments 45 minutes into the show, I'm going to try and stay on top of these, unless it gets to be too crazy.
Hey.
But David Wilt popping in. Thank you, sir. I think that what made the original Planet of the Apes series so iconic is that it came out during a time when America was dealing with the civil and homosexual rights issue. Interesting connection. But yes, I think historically correct.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Don, what did you make of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Well, much like your introduction, I thought that reboot trilogy done in 2014, 2017, and 2019 were about as good of a trilogy as you can ask for. Once Matt Reeves took over, I'm not a big James Franco guy, but once Matt Reeves took over for the second and third film, you can tell they made an elevated effort when it comes to world building, storytelling, stakes, and how often do we talk about on this show and on other places? How many times we have these blockbuster tentpole movies that just don't have courage, stakes, balls, just heft to them. And those 3 movies from those 3 years have great heft, great strength, and led by a masterful performance from Andy Serkis that I don't care if it's covered by pixels, it's some of the best acting I've seen in a long time. To reopen that, I was worried, much like you were, because this is Disney's first foray here after purchasing Fox those years ago. I was worried about the pussification of this sort of thing because Disney's been known to water a few of these things down for a more, for a PG-13 crowd or a PG crowd, or just the idea of like, we can't have this many heady action, perilous things in a movie. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was very pleased with what I saw. I don't mind a second trilogy if that's where we're going to strap in for some more world building and some more heft and some more characters. And not just I know the Echo of Caesar is in this movie for sure, but you really have a new character and some new places that this movie wanted to go. Gave them plenty of breadth and time to go do that and tell a good story. Does it have its second act? Does it need to be 2 hours and 20 minutes? Probably not. Does it have that second act lull when the pursuit goes away and the loft and the heft kind of come in maybe a little strongly for some folks, where like, hey, can we get back to the go get our apes thing that we were trying to do? Maybe, but I was here for it. I didn't mind the rocket stuff and the things in the middle that kind of, again, brought those echoes of Caesar here, because that's kind of what ties this whole bowl of spaghetti together. I was very pleased with it. I was wondering how this was going to go, because making these centuries-long jump that they're doing, at some point, if they really are maybe thinking of getting to some moment where, an astronaut named Taylor just happens to land and be mad at some damn dirty apes, like if we're building these prequels even further to get to that momentous remake occasion, I think the thing that was going to surprise me the most, or I was wondering the most out of this movie, is we're going to need a WWE style heel turn from these apes, because we've gone through 3 movies now where we've come to love them more than the humans and emote for them and really care about them. And because, my goodness, when you get to that final scene of Caesar in the last movie, I'm bawling my eyes out like I'm watching the end of goddamn Field of Dreams. So, like, at what point can you flip the switch and bring the humans back to prominence and bring the apes down to a different place? And to see this movie not do that, blaze its own trail, I'm impressed. Greatly impressed.
Well said, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, how about you?
So I agree with Don on many aspects of this film. I always go in not watching, or actually trying not to watch any commentary or trailers. Unfortunately, with this one, I mean, they made sure any sort of medium that you were watching, you were going to have to watch some sort of trailer with this. I mean, no matter how hard I tried, damn it, those damn apes made me watch a lot of the film before I got to go in blind. I feel like this is one of the only films in the aspect of any of the Apes films that actually goes back to the 1968 original. It had a lot of different aspects in there that I saw that I was like, okay, I like this. I like this. The main thing that I had a problem with is the story, which I'm very surprised that each one of these films, they're all the same people who are writing them. And this one honestly seemed like it was a cross between Conan the Barbarian and War for the Planet of the Apes, but with far less aspects that made sense. There was I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in the storyline that just was very confusing to me. I have many problems with the king. Sorry, it's Proximus.
Right? Yeah.
And that I'm sure we'll get into and stuff like that. Also, like what the big reveal was. There were many reveals at the end that I just didn't actually think made sense, worked with the story, worked with the human characters and whatnot. And then there's the humans that were in it that were like, what are you guys doing? I just got actually rewatched all 3 films before we did this. I will say though that rewatching those and then seeing this, the CGI each time just gets better and better. And with this one, I actually wrote down, holy shit. There's a scene where the orangutan, when a human speaks for the first time, the facial expressions, like I'm just getting chills talking about it.
Right.
Seeing that in the theater, I was like, I mean, come on, man. I know Dune's probably going to get a lot of these awards, but this is just beautiful. Like, my God. I mean, and you see the progression like from each film. Like there are a couple of them where it's like, oh yeah, this does not age well at all. War of the Planet of the Apes honestly still has some great CGI, but then you go to Kingdom and it's like, okay, I'm sorry, I know it's been 7 years difference, but wow, there is some stuff in here that is just absolutely breathtaking. And I'm gonna say the music, the CGI has me hooked. I think it's a film that needs to be seen in a theater to get, to really appreciate that craftsmanship that you see. That, CGI artists don't get enough credit that they should. But the storyline, I thought, had so many holes and pits and so many things that were trying to be like other like aspects of the film that didn't make much sense to me, that I hope we'll get to talk about more. I honestly do not think this is a good story-wise film. I think visually it's something that you need to see, but as far as like following along with the story, I think it honestly is number 4 and 4 of the Apes for me. I'll be interested to see where they go next from this, though, because again, I just there's a lot of things in this film that just really confused me and had a lot of holes, especially at the end, and also somewhat of a sexual tension that I didn't see coming, and I don't think I needed to see coming either, where some longing stares that were kind of confusing to me. But I don't know. I want to say skip this film, but I mean, I do say see it in the theater for the visual, just the visual styling, and just to be blown away by that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I don't know if I would personally place this as number 4 in story. I think it'd be pretty high up there, but I'm also one of the like 3 people on the planet who hated the middle film of the last trilogy. I think
I like that.
Rise was awesome, War was great, but I was completely bored by Dawn, but I do need to rewatch it again. As far as the big reveal in the third act, we will get to that, and we'll get to you, Mark, in a second. I promise. I'm just trying to get these thoughts out here and set the table before I forget, because I'm very tired. As always.
No worries.
I thought the story was going in a particular direction, and then when the reveal happens, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
But then it kind of rebounds in the very last few seconds of the film to the point where I got excited. And to your question, sorry, either Don or Katie, I don't remember. You just talked about this. Is sad because I should remember something that happened a minute ago. Where is this going in terms of if they want to push this into the 1968 version? How do the apes become who they are? I think the answer to that is in that final moment of this movie, where some very meaningful looks, and that poses some great questions and possibilities for the next couple of movies if we get that far. This movie did well. I don't know if it did well enough to have legs and warrant another sequel.
I think
we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
it did pretty good this weekend.
55-60, but the thing is, you've got It coming out, you've got Furiosa. This is the stacked summer where it really is make or break on those opening weekends. We already saw the Fall Guy fell off the face of the earth.
Sure did.
This movie, it'll be interesting to see. I'm rooting for it, but I'm also will not be surprised if it's like, well, the next one will be half the budget, and we're going to go back to 2011 CGI.
Rubber masks. No.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, we'll go completely old school. They tie it fully back into 68, and they're all in rubber masks. I love it. Mark, jump in here. What did you think of Kingdom?
I dug it. I dug it quite a bit. It's not my favorite. I rewatched them because Honorable Son #1 hadn't seen them, so we binged them last week. Back to back. I sat with him. He'd never seen them before. So it's always fun sitting with someone who's never seen a movie that you really like to see what they think. And he's enjoyed the trilogy.
Sorry, real quick. I just wanted to understand. Did you guys watch the most recent trilogy, or did you
the most recent? We just watched the most recent trilogy.
Yeah, Rise, Dawn, and War.
Yeah. Had he seen the 68 version? Does he know like where all this started from?
He knows of it. I don't think he's seen it. I wanted to start him with this because we were going to go to Kingdom, because now that he's graduated and stuff, he goes with me to a lot of movies again. He used to on breaks, so he's kind of my my youngest son. He's a little bit more particular about the movies he goes to the theater, but still, Eric was interested in Planet of the Apes, Kingdom, so we watched the other 3 movies first, and he really dug them. And him and I are similar on this. We really enjoyed Kingdom quite a bit. I enjoyed the story. I will say that it starts stronger than it finishes.
Yes.
And the reason solely is because it does the thing that I don't exactly care for, though I'm with Ian. They kind of they give the twist, they bounce one way, and then they kind of bounce back at the very end just before the credits, and it kind of redeemed it a little. But it is a setup, it ends with the setup rather than giving us a definitive end. It gives us a setup for a potential sequel, far more than I was hoping for. Now, I do like, though, how they bounce back, and we'll get to it. I won't, we don't have spoilers up yet, but just the way it ends. I was reading about the ending they have with this, when everything gets kind of settles down, And I thought it was very interesting that they had a different original approach to things before they did what they did with the movie. But overall, we enjoy it. We enjoyed it about as much as War. For us, unfortunately, we're on the opposite side. You are, Ian. We love Dawn.
I love
Dawn
Dawn
is
too.
Dawn for all of us. One, in all honesty, is the weakest for us both.
Yeah. So
But one lays the groundwork for everything. So that's one of
Indeed.
those two where I say weakest compared to the others for us. It doesn't mean it's bad though. It was still a very enjoyable, very good film. With Kingdom though, I like what they did. I like that they set it so far in the future that they could pretty much do what they wanted with
Yep.
it and still have a few callbacks. We haven't forgotten, but at the same time, it's so far ahead that it's in that same world, but they've got far more room to work with.
Mhm.
And I like the aspect, and not to get into too many spoilers, but I like the aspect that they kind of hint to a modern age thing of how we know the events of how things were in the trilogy and how that has been twisted over the years by history,
Yeah.
by those who are in power,
Mhm.
changing things up, picking and cherry picking things from history for
Yeah.
themselves to make them look better, which we see with Proximus for sure. And I dug that. It's not too evident with that. They don't like hit you over the head, but at the same time, if you pay attention, you see what they're going for with this. It gets a little bit more stronger once you meet Proximus, but I love Raka. Raka's my new favorite guy.
Oh,
So good.
I loved just like Maurice. He is a suitable descendant for Maurice, or predecessor for Maurice. He's really that type of character. I just dug him quite a bit. I do like Noah. I like that he is his own character. He may have a little hint of Caesar, but at the same time, he was his own identity. We weren't doing another Caesar,
Right.
and
I appreciate that too.
we aren't even doing descendant of, say, the line
No.
of Caesar.
Yeah.
This is a whole new tribe, and I
Mhm.
appreciated that. I was happy of that, and I am happy with the way Wes Ball handled this. He really took over from Reeves and made you forget within the first 2 minutes that you're watching CGI mocap guys. I mean, these are real characters to you. You're watching with the way it looks, like you mentioned, Katie, the special effect. You're just watching this and you totally forget
yeah.
that these are mocap people. These are talking apes. Okay, that's just
Yeah.
you totally buy into it, and if you can do that, then you've got a little wiggle room for people to just sit back and enjoy the film once they aren't thinking about, wow, that's a great CGI or that wasn't rendered to it. You forget that, especially with the Raka character, but some of the other like close-ups and the emotions and everything coming through with them, it's just like, yeah. But it is the ending that I think it kind of fizzles a bit because it's trying to set things up. I'm hoping it doesn't actually directly tie to the 1968 movie. In
I
all
hope they
honesty,
stay away too.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping it kind of does its
your own
own
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
It still is hinting to it, and in fact, you see it in Kingdom. But at the same time, I'm hoping it's kind of going its own way. Because I think if you try too hard to connect it to the actual point in time where 68 is, I think that actually takes away everything that you have set up with these 4 films.
I know. Same.
Right.
Same.
And I think, yeah, it's weird to think that they might be trying to tie into 1968 because, you can't. The whole thing about Planet of the Apes, the original. And well, let's pull over a second because we've got David back again with another comment relating to the original. So the 68 movie was written by Rod Serling, and one of his episodes in the Twilight Zone called I Shot an Arrow into the Air involved a group of astronauts who crash land on what they believe is another, and spoiler alert, planet, and is revealed that they are on Earth all along. Of course, he would later use it as the plot twist for Planet of the Apes.
It's a good episode.
I don't think I've actually seen that episode. I have all the Twilight Zones, but I haven't watched all of them. But that's the whole thing is Planet of the Apes, the 68 version, is a big budget, extended length Twilight Zone episode with a perfect ending. And it's full of, true to Serling, full of ideas, full of great conversations. It's not an action film, although there are punctuations of it, right? So, you don't need any other film after this, but they made a bunch of them in the 60s and in the 70s, right? So if you're going to revisit these as a trilogy, what do you have to say? I think the great thing that started out in 2011 was, how did we get there? It's not about the twist. It's about what happened in the downfall of man, the ascendancy of apes, and building a society and warlike factions, and how similar or different are we? That was really cool. And I think that was wrapped up nicely in war.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is we're jumping further into the future. And this movie, I think, is about, I think it's more about religion and spirituality in some cases. To your point, Mark, I think, there are, contemporary, say, political and social parallels, but they're also the kind of political social parallels that are in fact timeless.
Right.
It's the classic game of telephone. I tell Don something, by the time it gets through Katie and back to Mark, it means something completely different.
Yeah.
Well, probably not, because it's only 4 of us and we're all talking together on the
No,
same
you'd be
screen.
surprised. You'd be surprised how quick. No, I've been to 1 or 2 of those business huge meetings, Tony Robbins type thing, where they do play telephone, and literally by the 3rd person, the message got completely skewed. By the 3rd hop, it was completely different than what it was intended. So it is possible to fall that quick.
Okay.
In my my written review, me, every movie has a lesson. Lesson 2 for me was bastardized beliefs, because you're right. You have these current 8 factions in Proxima, kind of picking and choosing parts of Caesar's tenets and using it for their own their own interpretation, which, not unlike things being done today with various religions, is weaving the commentary of today into these movies, much like they always have been. So I dug that a lot. So
right, it's interesting to see how, I mean, you can even go back to the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy, and the fall of the sort of the Jedi Order and the aftermath of that, and Rey kind of being interested in these ideas of the Jedi Order, and Luke Skywalker, one of the OGs, saying, this is all garbage. We were kind of raised in a lie. What I liked was, the movie opens with Caesar's death on kind of a funeral pyre, which made me think of Return of the Jedi, honestly.
I know.
But it was, it was a very nice kind of tribute. And then with the flash forward, I think it's quote unquote several generations. So we don't know if we're 100 years, 200 years into the future. But
Wes Ball said 300.
He said 300. Okay, so that was
not in the movie,
but
like
interview or somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
300.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
That's why you could clean slate, like Mark's saying, and like not. That's what I like about this being. That was part of my worry with the Disney thing. Like Mark's kind of hinting at, like they didn't Skywalker this thing where it's all about Caesar and it's only ever going to be about Caesar. Like they went someplace else, and all other than the echo of the where we're talking about the force and the religion stuff. Like we didn't have Palpatine's granddaughter bullshit here. We didn't have any of that. So we're off in another place.
75. I didn't realize 300. I mean, Nova was wearing some nice pants that had to have been made like pre-Sears. I mean, she got
and that's
okay.
Well, we'll talk about Nova in a second.
No.
Well, you look at something, and I haven't watched Fallout, but I kind of understand the story, like the idea of these kind of people going underground to wait out nuclear war. They're going to have, they're going to be okay if they planned well. And that was interesting. That was my first kind of clue as to what was going on with Nova, is that she is very distinct in terms of the way she looks and her wardrobe compared to the other humans that we see in these sort of herds. They look like, cave people, and she's walking around in like a tank top and mildly distressed, not exactly jeans, but there's something going on there. Here, before we get further into it, I'm going to put up the spoiler banner because I don't want to wander. Yeah. But 300 years is just about right for, a myth to take hold, especially in, these kind of disparate cultures. And I liked that you had Raka and his tribe, of which there was one other, ape left who dies before we meet him.
Yeah.
They're kind of living on their own, kind of keeping up with the ways of Caesar. Raka hoards books from the olden times, and apparently they were trying to, keep the ideas of Caesar and knowledge and humanity, so to speak, alive. Whereas you've got Proximus, who leads this much larger band of apes, a kingdom, if you will, set up on this old, these battleships near a military installation that they are trying to get into because they're convinced that there are weapons in there. How do they know there are weapons in there? Because there is a human being who is able to read to them and carry over the knowledge of the old times. Now, this, I'm just thinking of this, and I don't know that it quite lines up because this is 300 years into the future. William H. Macy is not 300 years old.
No.
And so I was thinking, watching the film, I was thinking, all right, maybe he was like, he goes a little bit into his backstory. It sounds like he was running for the shelter or an installation or something. He fell and like hurt his ankle or something, so he got taken captive by these apes. But if this is several hundred years in the future and humans are, degrading in intelligence with every generation due to this drug, I don't understand. Okay, so we're gonna forget about his character.
Yeah, there's a little retconning going on there.
Yeah. Hole, right?
Actually,
Correct.
no, not really.
Help me out, Mark.
Tell us more, Mark. Yeah.
Well, what I picked up from it, maybe it's just my overactive imagination, but we're talking we're talking 300 years into the future, and we know that there are humans that were immune. That was established at the end of war. While there was a mutation of the virus, nothing says that mutation hit everyone. We learn in this as well that there were multiple shelters. This is just one of many shelters. So I'm talking Fallout here. That was an airborne virus. So they've stayed underground and still carried on civilization. And only a number of folks, who knows if they've been tested. Now, again, we haven't explored this. So this is just my way I pieced it together. It's similar to Fallout, only instead of a nuclear holocaust hitting the Earth, it was a viral holocaust hitting the Earth. And so everybody stayed down for so long until either they developed antibodies for it or they started to pick and choose those who could actually talk and breed them or whatever.
That's solid, Mark.
But in any case, they have established, and it's why I love and hate Nova at the same time. I love her and I hate her at the same time because she shows compassion to some of the apes, but she still has this overall bias and prejudice towards the apes as an entire race, even though she's been hanging with these race, because it's been ingrained with her. Because my son and I had this debate on the way home because we drove to Wausau for it. So the last half hour on our ride home, we were debating with this character. And I just said that as much as they helped her, as much as they, in the end, she's been programmed with 300 years of bias of hating the apes and blaming the apes. However, again, we haven't seen that human aspect of culture. I'm only speculating what I picked up on it. But in the end, I didn't have too much of a problem with them because if you're talking that many centuries, things have devolved or involved or, immunes built up, whatever you want to call it. But they're still cautious for getting out into the surface with everybody, because even at the very end, we got the spoiler up, even at the very end, when she meets the one person where she hands off the item that she was going for, that person was completely still in containment suit, and she had to get detox, basically go through, the old Harrison Ford out of the refrigerator treatment before she could go into the facility. So the facility is still sealed where many of these humans are. Not everybody can go up to the surface. So, in the end, I guess I just pieced that together in my head. So I didn't have a problem with them because if it took place, say 50 years after, then I'd be like, but we're talking 300 years. A lot of stuff has happened. And if you play a lot of sci-fi games or Fallout or whatever, a lot can be established of how resourceful humans can be.
Well, right, but none of that is established in this movie. And I understand that it is. I understand it is the fourth movie in a trilogy, sort of. But the last movie in that trilogy was like 5 years ago.
True.
B, they don't tie this enough in with what happened to the events of those movies. This is almost a standalone feature because they give you the little title cards at the beginning, and then you're off to the races. But here's the thing, okay, let's just break all this stuff down because we're talking spoilers. And I think it's the biggest problem with this film is what is the truth of what the human characters are trying to achieve in this movie. let's just say that William H. Macy's character is, he's 70 years old or whatever in this reality. He doesn't talk about escaping from a bunker. He talks about, well, I was on the run. I was trying to get to this place and I fell. It almost sounds as if in the great plague that started this whole thing, he was running and got, caught up at the dawn of this, no pun intended. If this was a situation where he was part of a band from one of these shelters that was out scavenging or something and he got, caught up, they needed to establish that. It could have happened in one line of dialogue.
Yes.
Also, 300 years into the future, these apes are living out on the ocean inside an exposed hull of a battleship, and yet there's this library full of beautifully preserved, perfect books. That's not going to happen with that sea air. I'm sorry. Also, I don't know that it's been established that human beings 300 years into the future are going to be as literate or kept up. It depends. Can he be that scholarly, that knowledgeable about the old world and stuff strictly from reading books, which you'd have to be unless they had television and videotapes and all this stuff. There's too much about what is going on in these bunkers that is not explored in this movie. Maybe they'll get into that in the next film, but I think they needed to spend some time there in this one. It's a good thing that they kind of tacked this on in the last maybe 10 minutes of this 2.5 hour movie, because otherwise I'm just sitting there this whole time asking questions. It's not until this live stream that I'm really opening this stuff up. I want to talk about where I thought this movie was going. And I'm going to write my own version of this movie. I know everyone loves it when critics
we did it last week. Here we go.
Yes. But I thought, and this is keeping in mind, it was in the back of my head that I was thinking they're going to try and bring this all the way forward to 1968. But there was also a part of me that was thinking they kind of seeded this in Rise of the Planet of the Apes back in 2011, that they could be charting their own path. As the world is starting to go to hell, you get a brief flash of a newspaper headline that says something like "experimental shuttle goes missing," or something like that. And I'm thinking, there's Taylor, there's the astronauts.
Someday,
they had no idea what was going on down on Earth, but at some point they disappeared. Well, in this, I noticed Nova's wardrobe. I'll call her Nova. Her name is actually May, but according to the apes, because all people look alike, they call them all Nova. Sorry, Katie, jump in. Yeah. And I noticed her outfit was a little bit different. She mentioned that she was with her camp and the apes, Proximus's kind of goons came and overran them, and she was the only one who survived. When she leaves at the end and she breaks off from the ape tribe from Nova, it's all very confusing. I thought for sure she was going to go riding off and we were going to see her coming upon the remains of her crashed spaceship. Like, she came back and crashed in the middle of this 300 years in the future, and that was going to be the catalyst. Like the other people that were killed, maybe they crashed, they come out of the wreckage, and all of a sudden there are the apes there who saw, oh my God, this thing fell from the sky, let's beat these humans to death. She escapes, and oh my God, one of the bodies she comes across has a name tag on it called Taylor. There's your reference to 68 apes while charting your own path, and oh my God, where are we going to go next?
Yeah.
Now, the fact that it's a group of underground scientists, I was like, really? But I liked that they were trying to get this hard drive, this satellite drive from the old military installation to basically open up this satellite that would allow them to communicate with other bands or tribes of humans across the planet. That was kind of cool. I also liked that they look through this telescope, and that telescope is very meaningful because there is a shot later on, I think, of the satellites kind of waking up. But as far as what they see through that telescope, we never really see it. But at the end, both Noah and Nova are looking up meaningfully at the sky. She sees that as the beacon of hope to reunite humanity. Noah, I think, looks up. He probably saw a bunch of those satellites up there and pieced together that something is going on that's bad for ape kind. And I think that's how you get to the society that we have in 68. There's going to be another war for the planet of the apes where the humans are like, we're going to take the planet back. And the apes are going to be like, no, you're not. And then we're
on captives and rebels in 68.
That's what turns them into the quote unquote evil empire.
Yeah.
That's speculation. Okay. But by the time this movie wrapped up, and I'm like, oh, it's a military installation. that is maybe a half-day horse ride from this other military installation. It wasn't special. I'm like, how many damn places are around here? I did appreciate the fact that it's so far into the future, everything's overgrown. I am
Yes.
geographically illiterate anyway, so I didn't know where exactly we were. And I think that's kind of the point. It doesn't matter. Everything has been kind of like overgrown and eroded away.
LA.
They're in LA.
it?
Yeah, because you
the
can
airport.
tell LAX and then the Adler Planetarium.
Or the Griffith. I think it's Griffith Park, right?
Griffith Planetarium. Yeah.
And then Coronado Bay is the name of the facility they're trying to break into the end. So that's down in Los Angeles area. So yeah.
Yeah. And with the aspect of time that's passed, and with earthquakes and whatnot, I appreciate that too. The production, like how they made it look like, okay, obviously, buildings have fallen because of just natural disasters in general and stuff like that, and then overgrown. Yeah, but they didn't make it like obvious, but they're definitely like, okay, that's LAX. I can see. It's like, okay, so we're in LA. Still California, but okay, nicely done.
No, I used to watch that History Channel show Life After People, where they like use cheesy CGI to be like 300 years later, what would Chicago be? And like Wrigley Field's covered in buckthorn, and the Willis Tower's flooded because no one's managing the lake and canal level, and like what would happen to Chicago in 400 years, 300 years, and they would CGI it out, and it looks like that. Everything would be overgrown with plants, So yeah,
that's cool. I mean, I again, if it's, I'll take your word. It sounds like it's in LA. That's great. I don't know. I've been there once, and I don't really have a sense of like monuments necessarily, except for Chicago. And I'm disappointed, Don. Willis Tower.
I'm just trying to be correct for the.
You're gonna start calling it the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry next week, aren't you? You bastard.
No, I hope not. But point in fact, the John Hancock Center would last longer than the Sears Tower in geography because it's outer frame instead of the inner frame, and it's a long story. Go watch the episode. It's on YouTube.
Well, it's I mean, I like the geography of it, and I'm kind of with you guys. I think I'm going to compare this movie favorably to James Cameron's Avatar films. I'm going to give it the edge on the Avatar movies. I think those movies are boring. Okay. I think they're cutting edge technologically and beautiful to look at, but the plots, I just don't feel like they're going anywhere. This movie in particular, it's leaps above, I think, whatever even was going on in Way of Water, to the point where there's a scene on a bridge involving water and Raka struggling for his life. And, it's the Obi-Wan Kenobi moment where the learner loses his mentor horribly and then has to go on the quest for revenge or whatever. But it's beautifully done. It's very touching, I think. And I was hoping that they were going to turn Raka into Han Solo and have him come back for one last heroic moment at the end, because I too love that character.
I agree. Raka was one of the best characters in the film, and I thought he was gone too soon.
Yeah, but I think Noah and Andy Serkis was not doing the acting of the mocap in this. Noah was played by Owen Teague.
Very unknown cast, but he looked across the board, really.
Here's a question, though, Don. Is he unknown, or is he unknown to us because we're old? I'm running into this a lot lately.
Owen Teague has some credits and some stuff where he's in the It series.
Yes, and he's also in To Leslie, where he plays her son. He's in Eileen. He's definitely a character actor that's building up some stuff, but I feel like this cast very much like Godzilla versus Kong. Mm-hmm. It's very small cast. I mean, they have much bigger Hollywood names, but I feel like these movies that are CGI, they're getting less and less actors that are well known and more lowering the cost of that. So it's like, and who's the big headliner here? William H. Macy.
Yeah. Hey. 3/4 of the way into the movie.
But I gotta say, regardless of spoilers or trailers, because he's not in the trailers, at least not the ones that I saw.
Yeah.
It was great to be in a theater watching a major Hollywood summer motion picture and to be genuinely surprised. I'm like, I heard the voice. I'm like,
and it's everyone.
That's William H. Macy.
Yeah.
What's he doing here?
I know. And that's the thing. Like, this really could have went. I mean, I'm happy it's as buoyant as it is, despite the things we're pointing out and the holes that are possible. Because, like I was saying, like this could have been a big step down. Like, Wes Ball is not Matt Reeves. The writer here, Josh Friedman, this is his first screenplay since The Black Dahlia from 2006. So, like, and I know he's been tabbed to do Fantastic Four and Avatar 4 after this, where he's like the big comeback name thanks to this movie. But, like, you don't have Michael Giacchino doing this score. Like, everything about this is a reduction from where they left off, and yet it for the most part, it still looks good, still sounds good, still pulled everything off.
Personally, I like that approach that they did that, because I think it's a misstep, and not to invoke, I know I'm the DC shill, but I think that's the misstep that Marvel did. Because what helped make Marvel was, while they were known names, they were being put in these roles that were surprising people, especially Robert Downey Jr. I read about the article of how Favreau fought to get Downey Jr. as, Iron Man, and it turned, look what happened. So, I mean, and they were starting off and they were using directors, and even earlier superhero films, they used directors who were from the indie scene. They may not have had huge name titles, maybe one or two named actors, but I think that's better, because if you start to get to where you're getting cast gimmicky heavy, you take away, it's a distraction from the story that you're trying to establish. I think if they would have packed this with like a number of really familiar faces and they put their names up front, people would be too busy focused on that anymore, or going, wow, and evoke all the memories of those actors, versus starting with new. If you're going to start new, start fresh with new faces.
Go ahead. Well, to that point, sort of, Mark, I think there might have been the temptation even to go the Incredible Hulk route, where now you have to have your giant CGI Hulk look like Mark Ruffalo. I don't need to see The Rock as Proximus or something like that.
Right.
So I agree. I think, and to your point, Don, like you called it a degradation. I think I understand that
a reduction. Wes Ball's not a hack, but the Maze Runner is no Batman, is no War for the Planet of the Apes. But that's a competent director, and not a complete indie bum either. So, but it's less. So
right, and but I think that's the exciting part, is because the Maze Runner, I didn't see those movies, but they were successful enough that there were two, or I don't know if there were two or three of them, but
there's three of them all together.
3 or 4,
Okay.
There's 3 of them all together, and they were solid. I didn't read the books, but they were solid. Of the young adult trilogy movies that had come out, it's my second favorite under Hunger Games for Maze Runner, because they wrote it far more intriguing than I expected with it. So, I mean, it's not great, but it's still better than some of the other young adult interpretations when we had that big boom for a while.
But I think this is, that, again, not having seen them, it feels like it was a proving ground. He can handle a studio movie with a budget, and here's your next shot. And I like that kind of idea of swinging for the fences, because there's nothing in. I was completely surprised by this film.
Same.
I
Once
think
the smart humans showed up, I'm like, holy cow, we're not going to the tribal caveman stuff here. We're pivoting, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Well, but
then Mark explained it perfectly, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
Well, but the thing that we talked about, like the CGI artistry and how it's gone leaps and bounds beyond what it's been in this series, and I would even argue it seems like every time one of these big kind of centerpiece productions comes out, like, we've got CGI characters, it is an evolution from whatever had come before it. The fact that the first, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes of this movie is kind of a hangout film, people scavenging in the jungles of LA now to find a falcon egg to bring back to their tribe. And there's like this disagreement between father and son. You really get into this ape culture. It's like watching a documentary. I think that is what helps to cement oh my God, I'm watching real ape creatures, instead of, oh, we're going to start with a giant battle scene between Proximus and Noah's people or something. We ease into that. By the time we're there, we feel like we're watching actual flesh and blood creatures, and there's a lot to be said for that. I think this is a much more a headier kind of summer blockbuster. As I texted Jeff York, who couldn't be here tonight, and he wasn't able to see the movie in time, but we're kind of talking about, I'm like, I don't want to see this. It looks kind of like, big and stupid, and I feel like the Apes movies have said everything they need to. I texted him right after I saw this. I said, this is a legitimate film. I think I put film in all caps, because yes, there are problems with it, but in terms of, I think, everything else we can expect this summer, this should have come out in the fall. I'm sorry, because not only for the Academy Awards special effects, but I mean,
Yes.
based on what we have coming out this year, it's not a perfect movie, but I would say this could be a number 10 in the Best Picture, ranking if you're talking about what Oscars be looking at. What Oscars be looking at? I gotta stop talking. I'm gonna go over. That's exactly it, Katie. That face. We're gonna catch up with some comments because we got a lot of them. David pops in again. I don't know if you guys know this, but '70s there were 2 Planet of the Apes TV spin-offs.
Yeah.
There was the TV show, the live action, and the animated. I remember seeing the animated in syndication on independent channels occasionally. It wasn't really great, but they did. Yeah, they.
Well, I have to seek those out. Maybe.
If I remember, the animation of the Planet of the Apes one was similar to the animation they used for Star Trek, the animated series.
Oh dear,
the original. It's similar in that style.
Sure.
If it's the kind that I'm remembering,
so very Super Friends-ish even too.
Yeah.
Okay.
David also says the ending of the original, in which the remains of the statue is found buried in the ground, is so iconic because if you look at the poster for Escape from New York, it shows the fallen head of the Statue of Liberty. The original Cloverfield, there's a scene in which Lady Liberty's head falls on the ground. Yes, I always I never really, I think subconsciously I always put those together in my head, but I never really thought about that. The apes and then the Escape from New York Liberty statue head, especially, man.
Such an iconic ending.
It's so good.
It's one of the best reveals because you just don't see it coming, and then after that, it's just legendary. I mean,
you mean Tim Roth's face on the Abraham Lincoln statue? Doesn't do it for you? Come on,
God, stop.
Oh,
we'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
But
anything where Mark Wahlberg has to have a college degree, I can't take seriously. So
I love that. That's the qualification level you put to it.
It's like,
college degree, Mark? Sorry, you're off this roll.
No, you're not. I'm not buying it. Yeah,
working professional, Mark? Sorry, you're off this roll.
Yeah.
You leave the happening alone. No,
I like the happening actually.
So you're the one. Okay.
I know. I am. I'm the one.
I like it, but probably for all the wrong reasons, or maybe the right ones. I don't know. But no, I think the thing I loved about the '68 ending is when he sees the Statue of Liberty, he's not angry at the apes. He's angry at mankind. He's like, you blew it all up. Awesome.
Only for him to blow it up
on horseback going like, I don't understand what you're saying. What's happening?
Yeah. Who's that lady over there? Why doesn't she have a body?
What's the green thing?
Yeah. All right. So Jew is just dropping by for a minute. I thought the movie was super predictable. The hero's journey plus having to deal with a dictator who makes some sense. Well, yeah.
That's par for the course. Yeah.
How did the human gear survive for 300 years?
Well, sealed up in a bunker will do it.
Yeah, that we don't. Maybe we'll find out in the next movie, but yeah, I suppose we're supposed to believe that it's one of those super duper presidential bunkers that we hear about that have generators and food for centuries. I don't know.
We aren't. No offense to anyone, I get that, but that's a question that comes up forever in sci-fi when you're dealing in the future. How could this survive?
Yeah,
you just kind of have to. I know it sounds like a cheap way, but you just kind of have to just roll with it because otherwise there's a lot of sci-fi films out there that take place way in the future. And you're like, how does that even work?
Yeah. What was the time machine in 2000 with Guy Pearce? How the museum hologram with Orlando Jones, like, because that's like 100,000 years into the future, and that thing still works. Of all the, not a pop machine for the lobby, but Orlando Jones to tell you about New York works. You know,
mind you, I'm not saying that it's a good practice. I'm just saying it's such a common, it's a common practice, and we're talking about a movie where you've got a virus that makes apes talk and walk around, and they've defeated the humans. So you know, I'm just like, as far as technology surviving 300 years. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
And honestly, I think, Katie, you and I both had that kind of head-scratching moment when Don revealed, it's 300 years in the future. I feel like that's a bit far. I feel like
I'll take
we
it.
could have solved some of these narrative problems if we just said it's 100 years later.
I figured it was 100 to 150 because they say many generations. So if you look at generations being a 20-year span, even though he said 300, I would say I took it as maybe 100 to 150, which would make a lot more sense. You know, and that's how I took it. And that's the way I am. I don't know where he may have came up with 300. Maybe that's what the writers told him. But everything for me just implied that it was 100 to 150 years, which puts everything far more believable in all those
Same.
things that points that Sajiwa and you folks have brought up.
Mhm.
I think if it's 150 years, you can buy into it a little bit more than, you know, I mean, I literally got a Victorola record player for my buddy Mark Woldridge, $40 from Goodwill. It still worked, and it's from 1920. So,
Exactly.
you know, I mean,
Look, if stuff is preserved, and like you guys said, if it's sealed tight and stuff like that, look how many things have been found in the pyramids and whatnot.
Exactly.
That, I mean, it's not like food and all that, but I mean, you still find things that, I mean, that I don't have an issue with. I just have an issue with a lot of stuff with Proximus once we get to that area. And let me know when I can go on a rant with that.
Go for it.
We'll do that in just a couple minutes, because I don't want to like keep you all here all night, but I do want to talk about Proximus and give you the floor, Katie. But let's get through the comments and we'll go back to that. Don't let me forget. Okay. But yeah, just a last bit on the technology. It is a bit troubling because you've got these fully functional computers and satellite hookups and things that have been satellites that have been hanging out in space unmaintained for 300 years.
That's true.
Okay, you just gotta you gotta do the Austin Powers Basil exposition thing. Just go with it.
Lasers.
Let's see. I guess people kept it repaired. Yes. What happens if your last your glass piece for the lens, the oil spills or the glass
sticker breaks in the corner of the tank, like, oh, sorry, we missed the service,
Humans are also great apes. Yes.
Well,
the dictator ate at the end seemed all right compared to old-timey human kingdoms. You got to run things somehow. All right. Also, the apes in the movie in real life probably would not be freaked out by guns. They'd figure out how to use them.
But and I did pose in the chat a counterpoint to that. Because Noah's tribe cut themselves off from the rest of the world. It's not that they're foreign to guns. They know what guns are. They were startled in that scene, not because, oh, look, what is this strange thing that made it? It was a big boom that startled a lot of people not expecting to see a gun. They knew what guns were. They always knew what guns were. They just, like Noah's tribe, chose to cut themselves off from the one tunnel, they raised eagles, and we found out that there's other tribes out there that kind of isolated themselves from the other apes because they didn't like as we see, just like humans, there were different tribes with different beliefs and assholes and not assholes. So, they just didn't want to be with the assholes. So, as far as the gun goes, I'm like, I don't think they were freaked out because, oh, look, what's that strange contraption? I just think they were freaked out because, holy shit, someone just shot a gun off or a big bang,
Well, the other thing is, I don't know how much exposure they would have had to guns.
Right.
Because they were trying to get into this installation. Nova, either she had it on her from her own installation, but I think she found it in that locker.
She found it in that locker. When she broke off on her own.
So the only other weapon we see really in the movie are those cattle prods, right?
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that they didn't know what to make of that thing. And the ape that does get shot, he kind of fell over and he's like, didn't know exactly what happened. Yeah. Let's see. Also, I'm not really sure if humans are in fact great apes physically, maybe, but the level of intelligence is entirely different. So humans, its own kind of animal. Yes.
Indeed.
That's all. Yeah. Good observation, Special Mark. All right. David Wilt, the 2001 Tim Burton movie, here we go, has a very shocking twist, which the main character thinks that he has traveled back to his own time, only to discover it is now populated by the apes.
Yeah. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
That's such a messy movie.
It's a novel idea for a twist, right?
To have the whole planet and human history be apes the whole time, I guess, but
because I imagine if you're trying to put that movie together, like everyone knows the twist of Planet of the Apes. What are we going to do? It's different.
It's different, and it plays with the idea of branching timelines versus one singular timeline.
Yes.
They need to get the TVA in there to fix that, clean all that up.
Don't worry, Marvel would fuck it up 20 years later. Don't worry.
He jumps back, but because he's in this other timeline, he jumps back in the past to along that other timeline and not his own, is what I always took that ending as. But.
Is Sajiwa giving the 2001 one a 7?
7 10 apes for that movie.
Okay.
I don't
if it's
know.
a sheer of a rating or a sophisticated
Well,
rating.
well, we'll just hop along, Cassidy,
know.
because I don't know about
Call.
that rating.
Mumblecore hate
No, for the
movies.
new movie. Okay, good. New
Joe
movie.
Swanberg
He
called. He wants his
clarifies.
reference
Yes,
back.
thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Oh, for the new movie.
Oh, for the new
Yeah.
one, 7. Yeah, I'm a 4 guy. So yeah.
All right, Mumblecore, Ape movie at the start, Apes hangout, special events, talk, getting food, etc. Yeah,
But it's the
again,
hero's journey with a bad dictator too. Shit.
look, no, look. Both things can be true at the same
I
time.
agree. Yeah.
The
The fact that they're all there makes it a little less than norm.
yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead,
just real quick for defense of Burton's movie. Burton did that so he could do Big Fish.
I know.
Well, then
One for me, one
you
for him,
are
yeah.
forgiven.
Well, now that's
I
just
detest.
I
detest Big Fish.
Oh, see, and I love
What?
Big Fish, but
Big Fish is
because
amazing.
I read the book and
Oh,
then
see,
I
I
watched
didn't
the
read the
movie. I'm
book.
like,
No, I
Tim
didn't read
Burton,
the
you need
book.
to be taken out back and shot.
See, I didn't read the book, but
in
I'm just saying
Minecraft.
it's Burton's approach. He has described it a number of years back. He does the big IP, gets the bank, and then he does the movie he wants to make, either the next or down the line. He takes that money and he makes the
Look at
movie
the
he
last
wants.
15 years of Tim only doing the IP one and not getting to his shit.
Well, that's just him, because he doesn't have any more
Because
ideas.
he's at
because he's working on the biggest thing to come out. And it's gonna be 2,500 years in the making at this point. Remember when Tim Burton used to get you excited? Anyway,
I know. I missed it. Guess when it ended? 2001. After that, I was like, he's gone, guys. We've lost him.
That is the year that everything changed. Okay, so Katie.
Yes.
I cede the floor to you to talk about Proximus, who I gotta say, Kevin Durand, you are now officially redeemed from Abigail.
From Abigail.
Take it away, Katie.
So kind of you.
All right, so there's a lot of things. I mean, as I said, I feel like this film is one of the only ones in the series of films that really goes back to the 1968 original. As you were saying, Ian, since I was overexposed to so many images of May on this, I too thought that she was going to have some sort of like space person thing, and it's like, I mean, it looks, you've got the herd of humans, you've got this. She's definitely wearing something that is completely different. And it's like, okay, so yeah, I thought there was going to be, it's like, she's going to be Taylor. I see where this is going. I kind of like it, doing a throwback and then your own thing. When it gets to Proximus and his cattle prod gang and whatever they are, my thing was like, okay, so you attack this little community for slave labor. It takes you 3 days to get from where that village is to the ocean. And I mean, it's like 3 nights time.
Yeah.
Then you see them
traffic on the 405.
Then you see them, and the only people there are Noah's tribe and, maybe 6 or 8 members of the cattle prod gang. My thing, it's like, okay, one, it seemed very easy for these people to get in and out of that prison they were in. 2, what did Proximus think was in the vault? I mean, he didn't know what guns were. He didn't know what bombs were. I don't understand. What did he think was going to be the big win to get in there? And then finally, the fact that May got in there so easily, like really this entire time, that's how easy it was to get in there, is through the air vents. Are you kidding me? And then she's the one who like brought up like the gun, which then I mean, that's a whole other thing. Like, it's like, oh, May's like, I'm trying to do this. I can talk, all that. And then it's like, she became more of an asshole than Proximus did. Because if anyone died during the thing, it's like, there was no need for her to do what she did.
Yeah.
Like, she was trying to do like, oh, I'm going to do this, so Proximus doesn't get this. But it ends up having a huger effect on Noah's tribe than anyone else. So it's like, way to be the human on that whole thing. So, but
can you explain? I saw the movie like a week ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on what. Can you get into specifics there?
Okay, so when May goes up in the vent, she finds the communication thing, and then the whole thing is that she's going to blow up the wall so that the water comes in, floods everything so that Proximus, doesn't,
Can't have it. Yeah.
can't have it.
Uh.
Fact is that they could have just gone back through the air vents and done that too. I mean, you didn't have to do anything, but when you also blew up the wall, there's a number of, yes, you see Proximus's apes get killed, but the main people, it seems like there's only the slave labor that's from Noah's tribe. So then they have the possibility, and I'm sure they did, a number of them who got killed doing that too. But it's like, you didn't have to open up the bomb doors, May, and you could have just gone out through the front, gone out the way you came, and you ended up like hurting Noah's tribe. And I guess, oh, I'm not going to let you have this, but he didn't seem to know what was in there in the first place.
No, he had an idea. He had an idea because of talking to William H. Macy's character. They established that William H. Macy mentions that Proximus he'd been in a consultation with Proximus. He's been picking William H. Macy's mind for however long they've had him. And so he knows that there is something there that the humans want because it's sealed up, and he knows enough about human because he's been teaching them about Roman Empire and other history of humans. He knows about weapons, and he figures, hey, if the humans secured this well enough, there's probably some really cool shit back here that I could use, including now again, I totally get what you're getting, Katie, because it's not exactly brought out to the forefront as it should, but it is mentioned slightly here and there. And that's where some of the problem is especially with the ending and some of the character. And I can see where you can have with Proximus is that they briefly mention things, but it's almost like in passing to where you're not, it's not quite of importance. Whereas another film might have like an actual meaningful conversation, like around the dinner table or something that they have, so I'm just saying that he was in consultation with Macy, so he had an idea that there was something he could use behind it.
Yeah,
he was pretty sure.
And May knows what's back there for sure. By like, if I can't get it out of here, they can't have it. So I'm gonna blow the whole thing.
And the whole going up the wall in that could easily be explained because of Proximus's narrow vision of being what you were saying is that not fully knowledgeable. So therefore he sees this as the only entrance, not thinking, oh, they might have built this whole establishment. He thinks that maybe it's a vault and not necessarily because William H. Macy's character tells him about the vaults that humans were in at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah,
here's that. And it's just that the fact that May figured out so quickly, but it's like, did no one decide to like look around the whole thing? I mean, it's not like this was just there.
Yeah.
I get it. That they just found. But
they could have solved this again with a little bit of dialogue or an additional scene, because it's kind of confusing because they discover this vault. I don't know how long they've been there. It almost seems like Proximus built his kingdom up around this vault to get into it.
Yes.
But it also sounds like they've only been trying to get into it for a while because they keep trying to blow it up and sacrificing his own, apes at these kind of dynamite explosions. I think it would have been better if the kingdom was somewhere else. They just kind of mobilized this effort to this place that they'd found and they were trying to get into it. Because to the point I think you're making, Katie, or one of the points, if this was his kingdom, if they were in fact settled there on these ship ruins that happen to be by this, NORAD installation or whatever, however long they'd been there, you would think that they'd be pretty familiar with the land.
Yes.
And they know how to climb. They would have found this other entrance. Now here, this is the biggest plot hole and actually happens to be an actual hole. When they're climbing up this mountain and they get to the door, the big metal, entrance to the bunker, I was like, well, how the hell are they going to get in? And there's like these giant holes in the vents of this bunker. I'm like, if this is supposed to be a doomsday bunker, how are you going to have giant ventilation holes where either people or nuclear fallout or ape virus can fly right in? It's just, it was a bit weird.
That to me was very Night of the Comet. It's like, hold on, no. Stuff would have got. This is supposed to be like
tread lightly. Mark is on the podcast.
I love Night of the Comet.
Okay, good.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? No, that is one of my all-time favorite films. No, as a Night of the Comet, I remember like one of the huge points is that the reason why all the people in the bunker got contaminated is because they left the vents open. So all the dust came in, and that's why it took them a little bit longer. But it's like, to see that, I was like, seriously, this is how you're going to do that? And I don't know. I felt like Proximus's kingdom wasn't, I mean, they had the cattle prods and all that stuff, but it's like, all I saw were Noah's tribe. And that's, to me, it was like, this doesn't seem like a kingdom. It just seems like you guys are doing this because you guys were too lazy to do it. And also, then what was the point of having the herd of humans, unless it was just a throwback to 1968? But why aren't you using them to do the labor and stuff? And I felt like there's a lot of things in the film that were reminiscent of war, like so much so of the labor, like barricading the wall, this one barricading for the ocean, and each one of the stories was very well plotted out to say what they were looking for, what was the goals, all this one. I just thought this one got really convoluted at times, and just the whole thing with Proximus and that, I was kind of let down with that for me. I mean, I love the whole thing that you've got this community that is like based around eagles, and then Noah had this like turbulent relationship with his father that we didn't really understand why. Obviously his dad liked his bald eagle son more than his kid, and they had that stuff going on, which I could say it's like, oh, guess what, I guess the bald eagle's probably going to save the day at the end, which again, Noah's tribe just really annoyed me. Maybe because at the end, it's like, you guys have 50 people. Why don't you just push Proximus off the thing? Why are you waiting for the bird to do it? Like,
well,
come on.
Two reasons. One, if they were a peaceful tribe, so they, from what they might not have. I mean, look, Proximus freaked the heck out of me. I mean, he was this giant ape, and we could see how ruthless and powerful he was. Combine that with the fact that they were 200 feet up in the air on this very narrow ledge. If you even have 3 apes going at Proximus, he could very well swing his arms and send all 4, including himself, off the edge. It's like, one person has a gun versus like 5 people. Like, who's going to be the one to take the bullet? Not
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, and the eagle thing, they hadn't thought of that because, like Ian said, they're a peaceful tribe. They never actually attacked another tribe. In fact, they go on patrol. They had their couple warrior guys who were trained, but not the entire. They aren't a whole tribe of warriors, so they never even thought about actually using their eagles against another ape. And in fact, in many ways, they may have subconsciously still have the rule of Caesar of ape doesn't kill ape.
Exactly.
It's not brought out on front, but that just may have been in their culture to where it's a second nature to them to where, well, I'm not going to, that ape's not hurting me, so I'm not going to kill an ape. I mean, the only reason the warrior guy killed the other apes was because they tried to kill him. So,
and those are all valid points. I am an evil person. I just wanted those guys to stand up for
themselves.
Oh,
no, I get it.
It's like,
that's Katie. There we go.
You are right. They are beautiful, peaceful. And it's like, yes, I should be more like them and not thinking, just push them a bit. Just push them off the cliff. What are you doing?
I had that thought too, though. I mean, if it makes you feel better, I had that thought too. But then I was also like, well, no, his tribe is skittish a bit because they're peaceful tribe. They really aren't.
That is true.
Equipped mentally to really handle an actual conflict with a guy who's already intimidated the shit out of them for a while.
And I gotta say, I do love the Proximus's ending because I don't know if this was in the screenwriter's minds, but I thought you guys are going full on literal interpretation here. You've got this ape Proximus who calls himself Caesar or the Caesar, taking on the mantle. And what happens to him? He ends up surrounded by his fellow people and stabbed mercilessly to death and sort of betrayed by his own kind. I like this. This is beautiful. This is Shakespearean summer blockbuster territory right here.
And again, how many movies have the balls to go there? Like we've seen stakeless tent poles that just don't have this heft, and I'm here for it.
Don, you're the school teacher. I could easily see you trying to teach someone like Julius Caesar and be like, "Oh, there's that
tomorrow in school. We're going right here." fifth grader
Right.
strong. Yeah, this is great.
All
Well,
right,
yeah, but like as a parallel. Yeah.
And this is the last part of my rant, and then I will step off my ape stool. The fact when May said she just wanted to stop by and say, she just wanted to stop by and say farewell. It's like, okay, that's great, but you realize that's a 3-day journey that you had to do just to drop by and say farewell. Because I made sure to time, because one of the things it's like I was worried about Noah in the beginning, when every time he did a fire, I had this Hunger Games feeling for him. It's like, man, you're gonna get killed with a fire like that. Have you not? It's like, okay, they don't know. He doesn't know. It's like, all right, but it's like the more I was paying attention to that, and then it's also I was a little confused, not necessarily confused, but it seemed like when she still had the gun, and then it's like, are you gonna shoot him? Are you gonna?
That's the.
I mean, what's going on here? Also,
I dig it.
There's still this weird, somewhat sexual tension between you guys, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
I wasn't going there.
With this, is this like bestiality sort of thing? This is a whole new realm in the
that's the Gaspar Noé version of this movie, right there.
Again,
I'm not sure.
Going back to the original,
because hey,
it's strong.
I'm not sure if it was I don't know if it was more sexual or just fascination that comes off as sexual. I think it may have even been just more of a fascination. But that point that you're talking about, Katie, apparently in an interview they had with the actress who played Nova, she said the initial way it was written in the script was a lot less obscure on whether or not she was there to shoot Noah. They said they redid it, but initially there wasn't as much subject to interpretation of her actual motivation for showing up with the gun. But it's that scene there where you see that, and this is where I like it, and this is where I think that they at least, where many people may not like to see it go in that direction, it is a different direction. She, at the end of this, is still not all kumbaya with the apes.
I know.
She's kumbaya with Noah. She's kumbaya with Raka because they were very kind to her and showed her compassion. But overall, apes, she's still like, this is our planet, and I love that angle. While I may not exactly want to see that, I'd love to see the
right.
I love that they stuck with that because I think it opens up. Unfortunately, this again the setup thing, but at the same time, it opens up to things of where they can go later. And just as a minor note, where she goes for that satellite is actually the Deep Space Network.
The VLA in New Mexico, right?
It's called the Deep Space Network, and there is an installation in Goldstone, California, of a collection of those satellites that are meant to talk into deep space, and that's where I think she went, which is not that far of a ride by horse, maybe a few days from the coast of LA. So I'm guessing that's where she went to. But
I thought at the worst it was the VLA in New Mexico, where I was expecting Jodie Foster to be hearing shit.
Well,
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the ending, I think, is it does pose a lot more questions than it does answer them. But
to me,
I don't
by
think,
design. Punch the patience button. I'm here for 3 more of these.
But I was going to say, Don, I don't think it does so in a way that I think it's kind of sloppy. I think there's ways to open it up to another picture. Yeah, because in terms of, why would she open up the floodgates and flood out the innocent apes with the, with Proximus's tribe? I could very much see her on a mission from this base that she came from to go get the hard drive. That's priority number 1. And she's thinking, well, if
keep the apes,
we are in fact in this warlike culture and we're trying to take back our planet, the less there are of them, the better off we're going to be.
Simple.
So it could have been like, some of these apes are cool, but ultimately the reason I'm here is because of them, and so we're just going to take out as many as we can.
And I mean,
I don't know. I'm speculating, but
I think that's easy.
Been in a bunker for 300 years and taught, apes are bad, all that stuff.
Well, she's only been in the bunker for like 25 years.
Yeah,
but still.
Who knows? Science is amazing. She could be 300. I don't know.
She could be William H. Macy.
But
mother.
it's the fact that even no matter what she was taught, everyone that she was on this mission with got killed by Proximus's men. So it's like, even if she didn't even know what the hell an ape was, it's like, yeah, I do not like these guys with their cattle prods. And because
here's a question, Katie.
What?
Do you believe that story?
That is a very good question. Because yeah, that is a very good question. I don't know.
Because if she had been, I'm not saying that she was lying, but it's possible that she went out, as just a lone agent to try and, get into this facility. I would imagine it would be easier for one person to go as sort of like a James or a Jane Bond to go on this mission of subterfuge to try and get this installation, than sending out 10 people or something against an army of apes. I have no idea. But yeah, the more I think about this movie, the more I think it's great up until a certain point. Fortunately, that point is, Don, to your point initially, this could have been a shorter film. I think you cut this off at the 2-hour mark, do a little bit of tidying up, and then I'm speeding towards the sequel. Whereas now I'm like, the sequel's got some heavy lifting to do to kind of get me back on board.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll allow it because I'll take I'll take a good setup movie can be proven by what comes after. So I admit I'm pressing the patience button to wait to what comes after. So. And
we've seen this now with planned trilogies. I mean, we're all from old school to where films never planned for a sequel. It was like, we're one and done. And then we get a popular, like, well, shit, how are we supposed to do a sequel unless you were Spielberg? And even then that was a little rocky. So, but here, now that they've got these planned out, I'm always... especially I realize it's going to be a series of films, and if I have problems with the ending of one, I'm like, let me see where they go with the second one. And while we shouldn't, that's what you got to do because that's the way they're writing it. It was like with the Halloween series, the three of them. I loved the first Halloween quite a bit. The second one, a lot of people loved it, and I'm like, let me see where they go with the third one before I enjoy the second one. But then the third one totally whiffs it. And then I'm like, well, I only enjoy the first one with, Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. But I'm saying we've seen this with other trilogies to where
even its own trilogy,
even the Lord of the Rings, even with the Hobbit, look at the Hobbit trilogy. Yep. It could have been 2 films, but it literally is the second part is Smaug leaving the cave and then they end. And you're like, wait, now you end it? And then, it's one of those things where it is unfortunate, but that's where we're at now. When they plan these trilogies or these IPs, we do have to play the patience game a lot of times because it's a setup for the next film. And then you're like, okay, if we go into the second film and they don't explore anything with the humans, then I'm like sitting there going,
clones.
Mark, here I'm going to play Captain Caveat because we start out this conversation talking about who owns these movies now. It's Walt Disney Corporation. And what have we learned from Marvel Phase 4? What have we learned from the Star Wars sequel trilogy? Plan? We got 3 movies coming. You want a plan? I don't believe that there is any plan for this movie. I don't even believe there is a plan for the last 20 minutes of this movie. But again, we shall see. All right, listen, we're going to wrap this up with some comments here. Yep. And okay. The waves seawater may have discouraged the apes from exploring the side entrance. Maybe, except that this was
come on.
It depends on how long they were there. Also, it's not like it was a giant tower. I mean, it's a land formation, so you could feasibly just go up the back.
Well, you couldn't see it from the ground either, unless you crawled up and knew it was there. If you're from that big flat area that they crawled up, you couldn't see the entrance, that second entrance too. So,
why didn't Trevathan know that either?
Well, I think Trevathan's trying to bait them, make them waste their time trying to get in the door, but keep them out of that facility. Like, I think William H. Macy was playing possum that whole time, enough to keep his ass alive, but enough to make them go, hey, keep banging at that door that I know you can't break. Like, waste your time, waste your resources.
Well, because
I don't care if you apes waste your resources, my skin's fine and my legend is secure.
And that's for him to keep for his own skin, because as long as they can't get into there, Proximus is coming to him going, hey, how can we get in here?
Yeah.
So it keeps coming to him and makes him value. Once you open that vault, he's there. Proximus is tossing him to the wind.
That's why May's a threat, because May maybe can get in, or now has this other way. Like, hold on, you're messing up my game here. Like, yeah, messing up my con.
Yeah.
Well, I think Macy's character should have been kept alive a little longer, because I would have liked to have seen that revelation.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I know why May dispensed him too, because like he's not necessarily a loose end like a heist movie or anything, but just like that's also not the kind of guy I can go bring back to our very secure facility. He's been in the ape stuff too long. He's been in too deep. He's Donnie Brasco.
Well, right, and he's the kind of weasel that's going to sell her and the entire movement out in a second. He was about to do that, I think, before they
Well, and after she kills Macy, I'm like sitting there going, "Oh, we got our wrestling heel turn." And after that, I took nothing. I'm like, she has got her own agenda this whole way. I'm there for it. I loved it.
Yeah, same. Which is why that gun confrontation in the end had so many like, whoa. She's here, but she's not here. All those things, all those layers. I love it.
All right. Maybe there's a longer version of the movie that covers some of these problems. Maybe
it's called Part 2.
Why America?
Number one or more. Yes.
America. Fuck yeah. Cats kill Proximus solution.
It's the Katie's.
Yeah.
To stand up and throw him off that cliff. Yeah.
Yeah.
The end scene with the gun is weird.
Yeah.
Noah's tribe would be cool with living in peace with humans. I could see that.
That's the thing.
If they had encountered humans like May who didn't want to kill them, because I think by 300 years in the future, they probably see humans as this kind of mythical thing, like, don't go in the valley because there's those weird people things down there. The echoes, but if they maybe they could have tried to domesticate them, like they take them as dogs. That would have been funny, human pets and cats.
Well, and it seemed like that herd that Raka, Noah, and May came upon was like something that none of them had seen before. I mean,
exactly.
Especially Noah, because it's like see that it's like. Oh, it's like deer in a clearing. It's like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. Well, Raka mentioned that he had heard of herds, but he hadn't seen one himself as well. And Raka is just more educated, because we established early on Noah's tribe just shut themselves off from the Holland Tunnel or whatever, and they decided, hey, we're happy raising our eagles and hunting shit here.
You guys do your thing. Obviously they're like giant mountain-back gorillas that you never see the females, but how are these males made? Who knows? I'm not going to get into that.
How did you say it? How did you say it earlier, Katie? I didn't need to see that coming. Okay, that's how you said it. Yep.
Well,
attention.
All right. Or she could have just felt threatened that ape is large. Yep.
Yeah.
Tim Burton Apes movie is okay. Its own kind of weird.
Yeah.
May is probably a soldier. That's the vibe I got.
Jane Bond. You called it.
I wouldn't say like a soldier like Hicks or a Marine or something like that, but she's had military training. She had. I mean, the way she kills Macy, she's had.
Oh yeah. No,
that's survival training.
That's Jane Bond.
Yeah. That's not her first time. Let's just say that. And it was definitely not. It's like when that was going on, I was like, oh shit, this is happening. And then all three of those apes are like,
I loved their reaction. When they looked at that and went, did that just happen?
Yeah. I mean, Noah's buddies are like, dude, Noah, who's your friend?
Yeah, where'd you find this girl?
Why is this chick so cray? Like, what's going on here?
And that's the thing. I have this great feeling, at least I have this great hope, that we're just scratching the surface, because you see three different kinds of apes in this movie. You have the peaceful rural Noah tribe. You have Raka living in the middle, and then you have obviously the people looking for dominance with Proxima, and then you have three levels of humans. You have the deer in the meadow. You have William H. Macy out for himself, clearly something that's an outlier. And then you have absolutely every organized thing that's possible behind that facility at the end of the movie. We're like, and then Fort Wayne, Indiana, and like there's more. And like the surface being scratched, it's so interesting to me. I'm down for it.
I think the original, the Reeves trilogy, if you want to call it that, we saw Caesar go from a lab chimp to, eventually someone who died saving his people,
Moses.
and became sort of a mythical creature. I
Mhm.
love that, but I'm more interested to see this new trilogy. I'm interested in Noah's Ark.
Mhm.
We're going to leave it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Oh,
Dad joke.
Thank
No.
you.
yeah,
Dad
that'll suck.
jokes strong
That'll suck.
together.
Yes.
Have fun.
Mhm. Ian, together strong.
Give me the evil face, Katie. Give me the evil face. Yeah, there
There it is. There it is.
That's awesome.
We
That's
earned
the best gas station monkey that has ever gas station
Isn't
monkey.
it? It's amazing.
I love her gas station
Best
finds. They are
$9 I've
epic.
spent in a long time. And the
$9?
chat,
Oh,
and
not
seriously, it was not much more in that. And I've got two other ones: the wolf and a bear.
I'm picturing Katie like just grab 3 and put it in a cup.
She
Oh,
finds
believe
the
me,
coolest stuff, man.
Apparently, there is a unicorn and like another one. I would have gotten them all. I got all the ones that I could.
Damn.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. I think we've gotten all that we can out of this conversation. I do appreciate you guys, especially hanging out a little bit late tonight. There was a lot to talk about in this movie, and I still really enjoy / pretty much love King of the Planet of the Apes. It's good to see that we're all kind of in agreement. Yet we found a lot of things to talk about, and friendlily disagree and agree on things. It's great. It's good kumbaya moment. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to leave it here. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Cinephile, Hissy Fit podcast, and Every Movie Has a Lesson, yada, yada, yada. We have Katie Glidewell, the bald in front, aka the blonde in front. Check out her stuff down below, along with Mark, the movie man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room. Everybody out there, thank you for watching, for hanging out. We've had quite a number of viewers. We've had some great comments and great dialogue here in the chat. We really appreciate that. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe and support all of Earth's Mightiest Critics. Again, info down below. Next week, we're going to be back talking about another summer blockbuster movie. They're one a week now. We're in like crazy season. We're going to be talking about John Krasinski's follow-up to A Quiet Place. If yeah, I
didn't
know.
last night. I'm gonna miss
It's
that
imaginary friend.
Yeah.
I'm scared, but maybe I'll have another Apes moment where I'm like, I don't know about this, but it wins me over. Who knows? But I'm going to be here talking about it, hopefully with other people. And so until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much. Take care. And Sejua said this, I think on Facebook or maybe an email somewhere. He said, critics strong together, and I think that's definitely the case. It's nice.
Right.
So
Here,
thank
get it
you,
all
everyone.
at the top here.
But no, that would be like thumbs up. We do.
Yeah.
Wait, Nate, no, that's copyrighted and trademarked. Get those thumbs down. Not thumbs down. Just don't. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
They're gonna sing Clint after us.
Yeah, there you go.
Here it comes.